How's it going, everyone? Welcome back for another week of gaming sessions. I've been on a hiatus lately. Didn't find the motivation to make any of the videos. A lot of it was because of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I finished that, and that experience was just amazing. I do have some qualms with some of the side story stuff, and I know it's like a side story, it's not part of the main story, so it's not all that important, but some of the mini games that are tied with those side stories, which are pretty great, the mini games, as you go deeper and deeper into it, it kind of gets a little frustrating, and a lot of that payoff is the story moments. But that's another video for a Final Fantasy Rebirth section. But for this week, I want to talk about Dragon's Dogma 2.
Pitiable arisen. Why dost thou fight?
Arisen.
You need only believe in your own destiny, Arisen.
Show me the path thou wouldst walk.
So you don't know a little bit of Dragon's Dogma 2. It's a very old series from Capcom. It was kind of built off of Monster Hunter and its very successful combat style, but they wanted to put a fantasy spin to it and make it more of a story-focused single-player game. The first Dragon's Dogma released in 2012, I think, and that's just insanely long. And from what I understand, the critics weren't really fond of the things that Dragon's Dogma had to offer. I don't know if it was the somewhat clunky combat system at the time. I think in Dragon's Dogma 2, they fixed a lot of that, and now that they had the tech with all the climbing on each monster and all the stuff with that. But going back to Dragon's Dogma 1, the combat wasn't the best. The systems weren't clear. It was hard to understand where the game wants you to go when it comes to the story moments. The map wasn't the best to navigate around. So there was a lot of quality of life stuff that weren't in the game, and it kind of hindered the experience back in the day. But now in 2024, a lot of tech has evolved and a lot of those systems are more accepted nowadays. We talk about how they have the system where you could climb up monsters. We have a lot of climbing systems in games now, not just Monster Hunter. We have Breath of the Wild that has a lot of terrain climbing, pretty much on any terrain. We have a different system with grappling and a more linear system. There's a lot of movement that evolved in games throughout the years, and that just makes the game feel better. A lot more is accepted with the systems it's trying to go for. The systems are obscure and dynamic in a way that feels alive, and not a lot of games, open world games that is, kind of have that feel of the world being alive with your character. It's also a part of the story you're bringing along. Okay. Wait, what the fuck is that? Oh, it got stomped on. Help me! Uh-oh. No. Oh, shit. And we're talking about how Final Fantasy VII Rebirth open world is implemented. It's very linear. It's an open world theme park sandbox. So you know, you go to one side of the world and yeah, they have a mini game, they have story quests, they have items to go around, but you know that's in this particular spot in the map. But in Dragon's Dogma, everything is so fluid. A part in the map you are going to one day and going back to that part on another day, it's gonna feel a lot different. A lot of NPCs are walking about all around the whole world, kind of like in a cycle. The monsters have the same feel. They have their own little paths that they go around, and that just feels like the world is moving and dynamic as you would feel in a real world setting. One example of that dynamic sense in the world was when I found a griffin, and me and my pawns, which is the party in the game, we decided to take it down, or try to at least. Oh, you see that griffin up there? I need to come down here. Roll this down. Roll this boulder down. Oh! What the f... If you don't know, the griffin has a ton of health. I think like 4 bars plus the initial bar. And it took a while. After I chipped it down a little bit with all the crazy thief maneuvering I did, with all the crazy spells that my pawns throw down, and my main pawn Sharif goes down with a crazy slam. It's just so insane. The combat feels dynamic, exactly like the world and the monsters too. There's no lock-on system, which kind of feels off, but I understand why they opt out for that option. You want to feel a little more free, a little less kind of stuck on a monster. I get that, but climbing on a monster, it's insane. The sense of scale when you're on it is just massive in the best way possible. What the heck is going on? I wasn't expecting this. Oh, go! Dude, my pawn like brought me up. Yo, this is a long fight. No! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm holding on to dear life. No, this, oh my god. Oh my god. But that brings me back to the griffin. When I was climbing onto it, trying to get to the head, it kind of stopped doing what it was doing and it flew up in the air, and it does that occasionally sometimes and it goes back down. But this time, when I was fighting it, it just flew while I was on it. And at one point I thought it would come back. I actually thought it would go back, but it just kept flying and flying, and at that point I was in trouble. And in that moment, it's not something the game developers put in so you can experience it. It's something you had to fiddle around with, something you had to try out before something like that can happen. And as I was soaring above the skies of Dragon's Dogma, I see all the vistas, all the environmental art, the structures that they placed in the first open world zone. It was just like a magical feeling that I haven't had in a game in a very, very long time. And this is something I just figured out and naturally stumbled upon. Moments like these in video games don't really come often. And I feel like a lot of the developers kind of are afraid a little bit to try something like this. The only example I have of this dynamic fantasy world is Dragon's Dogma 1. Obviously it's clunky, some parts of it were really outdated, but now in 2024 this game hits all the right notes that it should have back in 2011, 2012, whenever it came out. Fans of the first game has been waiting for so long. I know that it was a difficult game to wrap our head around, especially for casual gamers that only play a couple games now and then and kind of want that curated experience where you're kind of going to point A to point B and you're getting rewarded through an item or a story beat or whatever the case may be. But Dragon's Dogma is one of the best cases to have dynamic AIs in the world. And one game that I feel like has the dynamic scenes and world, but it's obviously still curated, is Baldur's Gate 3. The quest you stumble upon, those are the things that has the similarities of Dragon's Dogma and Baldur's Gate. They just feel like you're naturally coming upon the quest. It's not like you're going to a cavern and you know this person's there all the time, so you go there. There are parts of that in the game, but a lot of all the cool stuff that you'll see out in the open world will come through naturally if you put your mind to what you're trying to figure out.
You there? Are you looking to enter the village?
Shrill. Yeah. Oh damn, this guy's been through it. Look at this. His eye.
Best go elsewhere, friend. What's wrong about this place? There's no business to be had here. That's
What's
for
wrong
sure.
with it? I also had this one quest where it brought me to like a far east side of the village, and it's like a small town, very eerie people. They're kind of a little shady, honestly. They're sus as hell.
Hi. Suppose I
I'm
ought
talking
not
to
have
everyone,
underestimated
Rosie.
you.
Talking to
Sir,
everyone, Rosie.
You wonder how I know? For starters, it isn't just me. The entire village recognizes you for what you are, cuz.
How do you know that?
Mysterious about it. We've our sources, and that's all I'm saying.
What? You're shady. Everyone's here shady.
I'm actually on your side, in a sense. Can't offer you any help, though. Village code and all that. Still, I suppose
What's wrong with this village?
I could give you a bit of advice. If I were you, I'd try doing to someone else what I was just doing to you. Know what I mean?
I did come to a point where I did see the mastermind of the town, because in that town, the first time you enter, you see a merchant and he talks about how this town is weird. They're not going to sell to certain people and they're not going to even let certain people in their village. Once I got there, that right away you had that feeling that something's going on here and you kind of had to figure it out. That makes a compelling secret for this village, and it's something that I wanted to investigate throughout like 3 or 4 hours of the stream that I tried to do. I ended up not doing it on the stream. Off stream, I did find out what was going on and all that. It was pretty cool. It wasn't too difficult, but it was neat in the way they presented it and the way you had to figure out the clue and the mystery around the village. There's so many anecdotes about this game that not a lot of people really have experience, even with like 50 hours into the game. A lot of it is, like I said, off the beaten path. You kind of have to discover yourself. Baldur's Gate did that at an S tier level. It's like impossible to even replicate, I think. But Capcom and Dragon's Dogma has something a little more different than Baldur's Gate 3. The stories are still there. It's not as interesting. You're not going to care as much as the companions that are in Baldur's Gate 3. I'll trade that off for a dynamic world, dynamic combat, and dynamic quests that kind of surprise me every turn. And I feel like Dragon's Dogma is going to be a long-running Capcom franchise that they're gonna pay a lot more attention to. That dynamic world and systems, the quests that you get along your journey is incredible, and don't know anything that can top it and will ever top it. I'm just having so much fun with it.
If ye intend to do what I could not, and fell the dragon true, I would gladly pass all the wisdom I possess into your hands.
This is going to be it for this week of gaming sessions. Thanks for watching. I know I've been away a little bit. I didn't feel like I had anything to talk about, even though I did play a lot of Final Fantasy VII. Again, thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, please thumbs it up, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to watch me live, you can sub to my Twitch, and if you want any updates on those, I am also on Twitter. And that's going to be it for this week of gaming sessions. I'll see you guys next week.